Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. King Charles finally gave Edward the Duke of Edinburgh, titled The Truth Behind the Promise. In the complex and sometimes tumultuous story of the contemporary British monarchy, Prince Edward the Duke of Edinburgh has established a unique and progressively significant role. Throughout most of his life, he was largely regarded as the most reticent of Queen Elizabeth II's offspring, a subtly observant figure overshadowed by siblings whose public personas, scandals, and constitutional responsibilities garnered far more enduring scrutiny. During years characterized by significant institutional changes and personal bereavements, Edward's public transformation has manifested not through ostentation or dramatic reinvention, but through consistency, dependability, and a purposeful accumulation of service. By means of resilience and adaptability, he has progressively and intentionally become a major pillar, sustaining the monarchy at a time when continuity and stability are particularly essential. His journey from a young prince seeking a distinct identity within a strict royal hierarchy to a senior royal whose contributions are vital to the crown exemplifies the subtle power of duty and the ability of royal life to evolve into fresh significance. From the start of his public existence, Edward's persona epitomized restraint. In contrast to the heir apparent whose responsibilities and image were dictated by constitutional requirements, Princess Anne, whose remarkable self-assurance and equestrian accomplishments created a distinct public identity, and Prince Andrew, whose blend of charm and controversy attracted significant media attention, Edward was distinctively different. He was seldom the focus of front-page exclusives or attention-grabbing interviews. This seeming restraint, however, often concealed profound sensitivity and a contemplative attitude to a life subjected to incessant public observation. When the shroud of royal decorum was momentarily removed, such as in the aftermath of his father's death in April 2021, he provided a fleeting instance of genuine sincerity that illuminated significant aspects of his nature. It has been quite surprising, he informed reporters. Regardless of the extent of one's preparation for such an event, it remains an appalling shock, and we are still endeavoring to reconcile with it. The statement, delivered candidly and without pretense, did not signify a personal admission of failure, according to some tabloid interpretations. Instead, it was a genuine articulation of collective family sadness, clear and globally identifiable in its lamentation. These encounters highlight a fundamental aspect of Edward's role, his ability to reconcile the ceremonial with the personal, fulfilling the responsibilities of a senior royal while engaging with the people on a personal level. The ability to be accessible while maintaining dignity has become essential to his public efficacy. To understand the importance of his present popularity, one must examine the formative events that influenced his perspective and career decisions. This encompasses a childhood governed by a stringent royal protocol, a youthful quest for a significant career, ventures beyond conventional royal existence, and ultimately a partnership both matrimonial and professional with Sophie Countess and then Duchess of Wessex, which was instrumental in shaping his adult public identity. Born on March 10, 1964, Prince Edward Anthony Richard Louis had a distinct, albeit limited, role as the fourth and youngest child of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. The delineation of each sibling's position inside the home was established from the beginning. His elder brother Charles was indisputably the heir apparent, and his life, education, and public responsibilities were influenced by the constitutional duties associated with that position. Princess Anne's identity centered on athletics and responsibility. She became recognized as a symbol of discipline and public service. Prince Andrew had a distinct persona, socially visible, often exuberant, and sometimes a focal point of controversy. In contrast to this family context, Edward's disposition and resulting position in public perception was markedly different. He was seen by the family as reserved, perceptive, and empathetic, rather than competitive or attention-seeking. This demeanor was not only shyness, It embodied a more contemplative sensibility, a propensity to see subtlety to discern the implicit dynamics behind etiquette, and to bear the burden of duty borne by the Queen and the institution she represented. That characteristic cultivated a unique bond with the Queen. Their relationship was defined by reciprocal comprehension. She acknowledged his more placid nature, while he valued her resilience and the burdens she carried. This relationship, domestic, intimate, and profoundly anchored in a mutual dedication to continuity, would subsequently influence the confidence bestowed upon him by the king and the institution. The relationship was founded not on extravagant displays, but on consistent commitment to the responsibilities and traditions that uphold the monarchy, the minor councils, the unobtrusive participation in family events, and the subtle presence when the sovereign needed reliable support rather than ostentation. In royal houses, the intangible assets of trust and dependability sometimes outweigh public recognition. Edward's education adhered to a conventional framework characteristic of his royal contemporaries, significantly influencing his temperament and subsequent decisions. He attended Heatherdown School in Berkshire, a preparatory boarding institution linked to several aristocratic and royal families, where the discipline and peer group reinforced conventional expectations. He subsequently matriculated at Gordonstoun in Scotland, a school highly advocated by Prince Philip, recognized for its focus on character development via physical activity and outdoor education. Gordonstoun's rigorous curriculum, encompassing project-based study outdoor pursuits and a philosophy of challenging personal boundaries, has often been a subject of public controversy because of the varied reactions it provoked among royal students. Although Prince Charles's time at Gordonstoun is often remembered with challenges, Edward's experience was allegedly more favorable. Still, the school's principles emphasizing self-sufficiency, resilience, and collective accountability significantly influenced him. He then pursued further study at Jesus College, Cambridge, where he studied history and graduated in 1986 with a Bachelor of Arts degree. Cambridge provided him with an environment markedly different from the structured atmosphere of public education and the scrutiny of royal existence, a realm for intellectual growth, and a period during which the question that would pervade his early adulthood, what exactly was his role within the family's public service, re-emerged with heightened urgency. The inquiry about vocation was not only rhetorical. As the third son of a constitutional monarchy, Edward did not hold a position that necessarily attracted public or governmental scrutiny. In contrast to the heir apparent, his role in the line of succession lacked a predetermined array of obligations, and unlike a brother who had established a clear specialty in athletics or prominent public tasks, Edward's trajectory remained vague. This existential anxiety drove him to make decisions that were both traditional in royal contexts, such as military service, and remarkably unconventional, such as pursuing a professional career in entertainment and media. The predicament confronting younger royals in contemporary constitutional monarchies, balancing personal ambitions with societal expectations, has become more pronounced in the television era, when every divergence may be amplified and scrutinized. Following his time at Cambridge, Edward enlisted in the Royal Marines, a choice that was both surprising and rational. It seemed to be an endeavor to associate himself with the martial legacy of his father, who distinguished himself in the Royal Navy, and to demonstrate his own valor in one of the British Armed Service's most rigorous divisions. The Royal Marines commando training is renowned for its physical and psychological intensity, aimed at assessing resilience, leadership, and strength of character. Edward did not fulfill the whole 12-month program. He quit after 4 months. The judgment and the ensuing public outcry illustrated the harsh realities of royal inspection. The British media, which often portrayed him as a gentler figure, saw his exit as indicative of personal frailty or a lack of will, juxtaposing his decision with the military histories of his father and brothers. Buckingham Palace released a calm statement, indicating that the choice was made after thorough deliberation and with sadness. Nevertheless, media portrayals were less equitable. transforming the incident into a period of significant personal distress and public disgrace. The incident's importance goes beyond the immediate critique. It presented Edward with the truth that compliance with parental expectations or institutional norms would not inherently result in personal contentment or societal success. Rather than succumbing to coerced narratives, he pursued a course that was really his own. The departure from a traditional royal script was inherently risky due to the fact that the royal brand relies on predictability. Established scripts for service charity and ceremonial presence foster public trust. Edward's decision to deviate from that script, albeit subtly instigated ambiguity about his perceived image. It necessitated a re-evaluation of the nature of duty for a prince not in line for the throne. This endeavor diverted him from the traditional trajectories anticipated of royalty, leading him into the realm of theater and entertainment, a domain that resonated with his interests, abilities, and inclinations, but posed inherent hazards for a royal family member. Edward started his engagement in the arts with Andrew Lloyd Webber's Really Useful Theatre Company. This job was not only a personal pleasure in performance, it was a calculated effort to interact with significant creative sectors, comprehend creation, and contribute to cultural life beyond ceremonial functions. In 1993, he established Ardent Productions, a firm dedicated to the production of high-quality documentaries and plays. The effort exhibited entrepreneurial zeal and a desire to convert personal interests into professional pursuits. It also served as an examination of whether a monarch might authentically assume a business position while adhering to societal expectations. Nevertheless, the company faced challenges. Ardent had challenges in attaining both sustained critical recognition and robust commercial success. The company's shows sometimes failed to engage with spectators or critics, making them a target for humorous commentary. During a time when royal blunders were magnified by a sensationalist press eager for discrepancies, Ardent's alleged shortcomings were depicted as evidence that royals need to adhere to their constitutional roles. An event in 2001 involving a film team from Ardent, suspected of violating Prince William's privacy when he was a student at the University of St. Andrews, may have been more devastating. While Edward was not directly involved in covert activities, the incident prompted apprehensions that his company could be exploiting familial connections for financial gain, an accusation inconsistent with the established norms for royal family members who are anticipated to avoid private enterprises that capitalize on their status. The event elicited humiliation and strengthened prevailing public suspicion over the royal engagement in business ventures. In 2002, Edward resigned from Ardent to dedicate himself entirely to public responsibilities in support of the Queen, especially during her Golden Jubilee year. The withdrawal from private business signified not a failure, but a recalibration, an acknowledgement that his most substantial contributions might be more effectively rendered inside the institution rather than in parallel with it. His marriage to Sophie Rhys-Jones significantly intensified and expedited the redirection of his energy toward public responsibilities, resulting in profound transformations in both his personal and professional life. The two met in 1993 at a charity event, and their romance proceeded with a noteworthy lack of tabloid excess. Sophie, a prosperous public relations executive, contributed to the relationship a blend of professional expertise, emotional resilience, and a pragmatic viewpoint on public affairs. Her expertise in communications enabled her to comprehend the intricacies of public involvement and the significance of managed visibility. She also had an innate ability for meaningful advocacy that would characterize much of the couple's endeavors. Their wedding on June 19, 1999 in St. George's Chapel, Windsor was intentionally understated compared to the opulence often linked to royal ceremonies. The event was a family celebration rather than a spectacle seen by around 200 million spectators globally and marked by a dignified restraint that befitted the pair. On the wedding day, the Queen conferred the title Earl of Wessex onto her youngest son, and notably said that he would at a later date be elevated to Duke of Edinburgh, the title formerly held by his father, Prince Philip. The declaration was imbued with symbolic significance. It indicated trust in Edward's potential for future service and the monarch's desire for him to perpetuate in some degree the heritage of the preceding generation. The granting of titles and the assurance of the dukedom were actions that combined dynastic continuity with personal affirmation. The acquisition of the earldom and the prospective dukedom offered Edward a structured platform to establish a significant public presence, enabling him to dispel the uncertainties that had characterized his previous life. The collaboration between Edward and Sophie evolved into one of the monarchy's most dependable unions. Sophie's practical abilities and composed demeanor matched Edward's more subdued sensibilities, and together they developed a public strategy that prioritized consistent pragmatic involvement with issues sometimes neglected by attention-seeking royals. Their work demonstrated a comprehension of how to attain significant influence via sustained effort rather than via intermittent media spectacles. They concentrated on charities and groups addressing disabilities, youth development, and the arts domains where sustained engagement may provide substantial advantages. The couple's collaborative management of the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, a program established by Prince Philip to promote initiative resilience and community service among youth, symbolized their same values. During their engagement, they widely traversed the Commonwealth, promoting the program's ability to empower youth, encourage civic responsibility, and develop practical skills. Observers remarked that Edward's temperament had noticeably altered during this time. The self-awareness and scrutiny that characterized previous decades yielded to a more confident demeanor. The individual formerly seen as soft came to be viewed as dependable, industrious, and proficient. The transition was not only superficial, it demonstrated a persistent dedication to responsibilities often characterized by routine rather than grandeur, presiding over meetings, participating in charitable events, engaging with recipients, consulting with practitioners, and ensuring the continuity of initiatives over extended periods. This consistency, while less captivating to tabloid sensibilities, was beneficial in fostering confidence with charities and organizations that prioritize continuity and depth of expertise. Their children, Lady Louise Windsor, born in 2003, and James Viscount Severn, born in 2007, were brought into the world with a conscious focus on seclusion and normality. The couple opted against allowing their children to use the titles His or Her Royal Highness, a choice that indicated a deliberate effort to modernize some elements of royal family life and alleviate the burdens associated with higher royal positions. The decision mirrored previous family choices. Princess Anne had not bestowed the HRH title upon her children, Peter and Zara, and was broadly perceived as a pragmatic adjustment to contemporary expectations, reconciling dynastic continuity with the intention of providing their children a semblance of a normal childhood. As Edward's responsibilities evolved, his connection with the Queen also intensified. While other family members faced significant public personal crises, divorces, media scrutiny, and subsequent controversies, Edward and Sophie seemed like relatively stable individuals. Their consistent presence at Windsor Castle and their methodical commitment to public duty established them as reliable figures within the broader institution. Edward's alignment with the Queen's principles, duty continuity, and modest service was evident in several subtle gestures of support and his readiness to undertake various responsibilities on behalf of the Queen. He emerged as a dependable deputy as the responsibilities on the senior royals increased, and his proficiency in executing ordinary state and ceremonial duties contributed to maintaining the institution's external composure throughout tumultuous periods. The demise of Prince Philip in 2021 was a period of significant personal sorrow and institutional ramifications. Edward's public remarks shortly thereafter offered a unique and personal insight into the family's collective sorrow and highlighted his position as a guardian of his father's legacy. He assumed a more prominent role in the Duke of Edinburgh's award and articulated fervently his father's vision for youth development. In this capacity, he functioned not just as a grieving son, but also as a pragmatic custodian of a program that had evolved into a cornerstone of the family's philanthropic brand. That leadership, carried out with a blend of personal warmth and administrative diligence, enhanced his reputation for sincere, efficient service. During a period when the monarchy required stable leadership to transform mourning into productive continuity, Edward's reaction demonstrated how personal sorrow might be directed towards institutional support. The Queen's demise in September 2022 subsequently triggered a wider institutional change. Her death signified an emotional fracture within the family and a constitutional transition to King Charles III. For Edward, the bereavement was very personal. He had lost not just his monarch, but also the stabilizing matriarch who had been the fulcrum of his existence. The photos of him maintaining vigil beside her coffin, anxious, composed, and plainly grieving, conveyed an emotional depth that words alone could not express. In the following months, as the family adapted to new obligations and the country contended with transformation, Edward reiterated both personally and publicly his dedication to sustaining the Queen's principles of responsibility and continuity. The new era of royal governance necessitated a redistribution of responsibilities and a re-evaluation of the family's role in serving a contemporary society. In this restructuring, Edward's consistent presence became more indispensable. The aftermath of the Queen's death highlighted the changed internal dynamics of the royal family. The withdrawal of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex from official royal responsibilities, together with Prince Andrew's definitive exit from public life, diminished the number of active royals at a time when public demand for the institution's presence was elevated. King Charles III had a vision of a streamlined monarchy, an institutional framework whereby a reduced number of working royals would undertake the public and charitable duties of the crown. This approach, whether seen as a deliberate modernization or an administrative imperative, created both tension and opportunity. The reduction in the number of senior royals resulted in an enhancement of each surviving member's position. Hence, traits like stability, steadiness, and dependability were particularly valued. The new mandate necessitated a reallocation of responsibilities and a meticulous adjustment of public visibility: who would represent the crown at official functions, who would preside over charity organizations, and who would manage Commonwealth affairs. In this context, the ability to assume extra tasks without inciting unnecessary controversy became an institutional advantage. In this new structure, Edward and Sophie became pivotal players. They evolved from simple background supporters to frontline agents responsible for maintaining the monarchy's public engagement and charity obligations. The bestowal of the Duke of Edinburgh title on March 10, 2023, Edward's 59th birthday, was so noteworthy on several levels. It honored a long-standing commitment from his wedding day and represented King Charles III's acknowledgement of Edward's enduring dedication. The title's formation was updated by stipulation it would return to the crown following Edward's death instead of being inherited by his son. This arrangement demonstrated the new king's declared objective to maintain the monarchy's alignment with modern expectations while ensuring budgetary and public sustainability. The alteration of hereditary customs in this instance was a pragmatic recognition that dynastic symbols may be judiciously retained without obligating the institution to an always increasing financially supported extended family. Presuming the dukedom was both an accolade and a pragmatic reassignment of duty. The title embodied the historical significance of Prince Philip's life and contributions, especially with youth initiatives and practical ventures, which Edward accepted with his usual devotion and humility. He and his wife assumed enhanced responsibilities representing the king at state events, endorsing a wide array of organizations, and managing a schedule of activities both domestically and internationally. Their rigorous schedule, consisting of hundreds of events each year, highlighted their significance as integral components of the monarchy's operating framework. Edward's persistent dedication to the Duke of Edinburgh's award significantly shaped his public endeavors, whereas the Duchess of Edinburgh focused on initiatives like blindness prevention and advocacy against sexual violence in conflict issues that underscore the couple's inclination for focused, meaningful interventions, rather than superficial publicity stunts. By meticulously choosing patronages and maintaining consistent engagement, they established a reputation for providing modest, quantifiable effect instead of pursuing ephemeral notoriety. In the extensive public debate over the monarchy's significance, the Edinburghs have emerged as a paradigm of how royal service might evolve to meet modern expectations while preserving fundamental constitutional and ceremonial roles. Their focus on seclusion, familial stability, and consistent charity engagement reflects a contemporary understanding of royal existence, one where the institution's endurance relies more on authenticity, responsibility, and tangible social contribution than on spectacle. The couple's evident success stems from their understanding of this practical math. They established trust not alone via official associations, but through years of diligent, unwavering effort, engaging with neighborhood organizations, attending understated events, supporting youth initiatives, and consistently undertaking activities that allow the heir and other senior royals to concentrate on constitutional obligations. In this context, Edward's public transformation is more a narrative of incremental affirmation than of spectacular change. A previously disregarded prince evolved into a stabilizing presence whose worth is assessed by consistency rather than charm. His power inside the institution has incrementally, but significantly increased, grounded on a foundation of dependability, a robust marital alliance, and a steadfast commitment to the crown. He did not attempt to independently reform the monarchy. Rather, he aimed to serve it with integrity, preserving its traditions while adapting its functions to modern requirements. Edward's example illustrates that organizational resilience often relies on reliable mid-level personnel who do unremarkable tasks, maintain institutional memory and knowledge, and convert strategic objectives into routine practices. Critics may contend that Edward's trajectory was prolonged or that prior errors ought to have been circumvented. Some critics have questioned if his first engagement with private industry undermined the inherent neutrality of the crown and whether the media's prior ridicule of his perceived shortcomings indicated a greater public desire for more forceful royal figures. However, such critiques overlook a fundamental reality: venerable institutions like the British monarchy cannot endure only via charismatic individuals. They also need diligent stewards who over time transform goodwill into trust through consistent actions. Edward's journey indicates a pragmatic understanding of the trade-offs intrinsic to royal life. Visibility may be attained through diligence rather than necessitated by ostentation. Authority can be amassed via competence rather than asserted by demeanor. Edward's confession, when it surfaces, is not an acknowledgement of devastating remorse, but rather an implied testament to the significance of resilience. This story is constructed not via one spectacular interview, but through a prolonged dedication to one's profession, family allegiance, and the gradual accumulation of public trust. He rose from obscurity, not by seeking recognition, but by diligently doing the unremarkable tasks essential to a lasting public servant, until his contributions were too significant to overlook. As the Duke of Edinburgh, he perpetuates his father's legacy, while simultaneously establishing his own identity, characterized by a contemporary perspective, a focus on measurable philanthropic outcomes, and a steadfast dedication to an institution that, despite controversy and change, necessitates individuals who can provide stability, discretion, and integrity. In the tumultuous landscape of 21st-century monarchy, Prince Edward's progression is characterized more by a gradual ascension than a rapid elevation, an accumulation of duties that has made him, in several senses, one of the family's most important members. His narrative serves as a testament that responsibility executed with humility and perseverance may have an impact as formidable as any headline, and that the endurance and evolution of esteemed institutions often rely on individuals prepared to work diligently for their preservation. In an era of immediate evaluation and relentless display, the understated qualities of reliability and the gradual establishment of institutional trust persist as significant influences. Edward's public life exemplifies how these values may be nurtured, maintained, and eventually recognized. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for the time being.